The culprit, who was also dressed as a maid, shot the maid owner who had just stepped out of the car. After committing the crime, she fled and just left the gun. The maid service was highly popular in 1999, and this girl had always wanted to attempt this job. On that very day, she went to Akira, the most well-known maid cafe services location, where everyone was adorable. According to the address, she went to Cafe Ton. When she arrived there, the maids inside mistakenly believed she was a visitor, and welcomed her warmly. However, as soon as they realized she was a newcomer, they swiftly altered their attitude. Nagomi proceeded to change her clothing, and then met Ranko, a senior who was also a newcomer like her. Nagomi put on her maid outfit and presented herself to the owners and co-workers. Ranko appeared to be a little elderly, but the owner didn't mind. She simply needed to be enthusiastic about her work. Then, when they jointly opened the store, Yumechi enthusiastically greeted the store owners. She talked so much that Nagomi questioned herself whether she could do the same. The blonde girl gave Nagomi some tips on how to behave like Yumechi. But first, Nagomi needed to get over her shame. Although Ranko usually greeted guests with a face as frigid as ice, which was in line with expectations, she never seemed to be joyful or excited about anything. When it was Nagomi's turn to bring water for the visitors, she tried to do precisely the same as Yumechi, but it seemed like she was following the incorrect script because she drew hearts for the guests, but sprayed them all over their faces, and stirred the water but dumped it pell-mell all over. Whatever she did, it left a trace. After the first group of visitors finally left, Nagomi was a bit disappointed that she hadn't been able to help, but she was determined to work more. During this moment, a customer arrived, and Nagomi eagerly hurried to serve him. As soon as the customer summoned the owner, she quickly knelt at the customer's feet and requested some time. Nagomi was really confused. This visitor was aware of the situation, so he issued a challenge to the proprietor and instructed Nagomi to accept it in exchange for a period of time. The owner had to agree with it. She invited Nagomi into the room to give a letter, which Nagomi would have to deliver to the maid cafe. Nagomi was eager to carry on this task. Ranko unexpectedly stood up and begged to follow. The owner agreed and gave them some money to serve as a reminder to eat before heading there. Nagomi excitedly took Ranko downstairs to eat noodles. Nagomi departed first, while Ranko lingered to get a bag of something from the owner. While at the cafe shop, the owner still hoped they would return, but her hand had already prepared a poster to recruit new workers. After entering the cafe shop, Ranko and Nagomi noticed a somewhat ominous scene. A girl was being forced by the proprietor to have her hair cut, and the girl walked over to Nagomi. Nagomi was afraid and handed the letter back to the girl. After reading it, Nagomi was pale since the letter was full of offensive comments. That girl went insane, hitting Nagomi repeatedly without giving her a chance to explain. The blood spilled, she slumped backwards, leaving Nagomi speechless. She turned around but saw Ranko holding a gun. Ranko yanked Nagomi away quickly. Of course, they didn't let them flee that easily. The entire store chased after them. Nagomi was fighting these people by herself when Ranko shoved her behind. Without thinking twice, Ranko grabbed the gun and shot them. Nagomi sat down in terror, wondering what was happening as Ranko quickly slaughtered all the maids, putting an end to her dreams of working as a maid. Episode 2. Upon opening her eyes in the early morning, Nagomi observed Ranko tending to her own wounds, and she immediately became pale. Yumechi was terrified because what occurred yesterday was even on the television, so when Ranko played too big, she wished the owner peace and returned. Now, when Ranko did anything wrong, the owner was now being prosecuted as well, but with the conflicts in the previous several years, this was still very normal. Nagomi had no idea what was going on in the world anymore. Yesterday was a carnage, but today stores were open as usual, especially after Ranko killed people without hesitation. Nagomi was always terrified when she saw red. When the maid noticed Nagomi's uneasy expression, she prompted her to go for comfort. Nagomi grabbed the leaflets and attempted to draw in visitors, but she was quickly approached by the other maids because she was working in their area. Although their Ton store had a business license, it was too little and located at the bottom of society, so when it was bullied, it did not dare to confront the bully. Nagomi had to leave the shop to pass out leaflets, but no one wanted to take them. There was a maid standing next to her who introduced herself as Narura. Although they worked for different chains of stores, to Narura, if they were maids, they were part of the extended family. Therefore, she encouraged Nagomi to try. Nagomi quickly regained her spirits and returned to the shop to resume her job. At this point, the owner returned and requested everyone to stop working, since she needed to close the shop. Everyone was confused. Then the owner depressedly informed them about the journey. She had to take out a mortgage owing to a shortage of funds, but because the shop was too small, the money was insufficient. At this moment, the lender directed the shopkeeper to the Maid casino, where she could double her money if she folded it. She listened to him and went to the casino, but returned empty-handed. Everyone scolded the owner fiercely because the shop was like their lives. Why was she so arrogant? The owner realized that the store still had the employees' wages, so she took all this money out and took the group to the Maid casino with the intention of recovering the lost funds. However, the lender turned out to be the one who conspired with another person to defraud her. And the fact that she had run out of money but still dared to return made him eager to make the owner feel the sting once more. Yumechi offered everyone money to go out for a game apiece. Nagomi did not know how to play any games at first, but she was then shown by the hostess. Nagomi got into the machine to try, but won consistently, making the owner delighted, and with this, they could reclaim their business. Nagomi was about to halt, but the owner insisted that it was better to lose than to go, since doing so would mean losing all that she had worked for. The hostess hurried out to tell them about a game with the greatest bonus rate in their casino after the others had also run out of money. They had run out of chips, but they needn't have worried because it may be played in a selling people style. Everyone had somewhat changed their minds about playing, but the owner was obligated due to the debt. Everyone was handed chips and took turns playing, and most of them rapidly lost. Only Ranko and Yumechi remained in the game. Yumechi hoped Ranko would allow her the remaining chips to play once to sell things, and Ranko concurred. Yumechi could see that her opponents were lying, yet she was still unable to defeat them. They were all losers when the new leader showed in and teased them. Ranko immediately handed them copper candy because they had cheated and therefore deserved it. Nagomi hid beneath the table to let the seniors deal with them. They raced out of the building together, and Ranko even gave them a grenade before they left. The overall building collapsed under the owner's insolvent debt and disappeared. The following morning, everyone went down to breakfast as if nothing had happened, and Nagomi attempted to calm herself by reminding that at least she was still alive. Episode 3. When Nagomi approached Ranko while she was washing her face, it was a bit difficult for her to do so because of the way her bangs were tangled. Nogami gave her a hair tie, and Ranko accepted without showing any emotion before accompanying Nagomi to distribute leaflets. Nagomi ran across her buddy Naruro, who was giving out leaflets there as well. People who seemed to be multi-radical appeared out of nowhere. Naruro informed Nagomi that they were from the figure group, and that they were now discussing important contracts that had significantly raised the worth of the company. Naruro sternly warned them not to become entangled with them. Ranko came over to where they intended to pass out leaflets, but the other guy immediately threw it away. She was going to smack him in the face angrily when a foreign female intervened. She found it endearing when maids displayed sweetness, but Ranko was unable to do so, and she refused to accept her as a maid. When the owner of the business pushed the man back at the store because the envelope was past due, the man realized that Ranko needed to be given a mission. The owner then pleaded for more time. Ranko would have to enter the ring. She had no idea whether she could win, but pledged to give it her all. The owner went to see the owner of this arena, hostess Taira. According to the contract, Ranko would have to appear to lose within 3 rounds, despite the fact that her opponent was a consistent winner. The person from the figure firm brought the anime model to sell to her. He used false goods to fool Taira into buying, but she didn't realize it, although she was a lover of this anime character, who inspired her to develop a champion boxer. The bell sounded, and the bout was ended, but Ranko was the winner. The owner had furiously commanded her to lose, however Ranko refused, saying she couldn't since her opponent was too weak. Taira dragged the owner and Ranko up to beg for crime as the other guy laughed at her and munched on a copper candy. The proprietor quickly expressed her regret and pleaded with her to give Ranko another opportunity, since the public now recognized Ranko's strength. Taira would crown a new champion if Ranko made it to the final and lost. The gladiator, who was the girl who stopped Ranko from fighting, was summoned back by Taira. Like the previous time, she made fun of Ranko for not being a maid, but Ranko didn't mind. Whether or not she was a maid was up to her. Taira directed Ranko to transport the corpse to the parking garage, and as the matches progressed, Ranko advanced to the final round to battle the foreign girl. The figure company employees rushed to find the director, but Taira was already blaming Ranko and pleading with them to allow her to face Ranko in the final match. Before the match, the owner continuously wished Ranko to lose, and she also attempted to remind herself of the mission for the business. Ranko was repeatedly hit by the foreign girl, but she just parried the blows. As the foreign girl continued to throw increasingly hazardous punches, Ranko retreated to the side and made an attempt to fight back when the owner roared, making her cringe. Everyone warned the owner to stop after realizing that the other person was attempting to kill Ranko, but the owner was unable to budge. When the second round began, Ranko was still simply parrying blows until Zoya broke the hair tie Nagomi had given her. Ranko then yelled at Zoya to hit her in the face. From now on, she would fight for her life. Zoya recognized Ranko's power as well. They went into battle, and Zoya would not recognize Ranko because she had been taught since childhood not to be exposed to cute things. So when she saw Ranko battling with her head bleeding like that, a cute maid was not like Ranko, and Zoya refused to admit it. Ranko merely grinned slightly and punched Zoya. Taira went insane after the plan failed again, and the people of the figure firm realized Taira was the one who murdered their director and came for revenge. Because Taira passed away and Zoya had no longer a master, she decided to start working at Café Ton and follow Ranko's way of life.